We are Team Umuganda Energy Finance, and we are Kickstarter for renewable energy in Africa. But just for context, as I speak to you, there are 571 million Africans that lack access to any form of electricity. We have 1.4 billion people here on the continent of Africa, and we just provide about 905 terawatts of electricity for this huge population. By contrast, in North America, with just about a third of that population, 5 times more electricity is available. The chief reason why this is the case is because of a huge financing gap that exists for energy. 6% is what the current energy companies, especially renewable energy companies, have access to on the continent of Africa. And of this amount, it's just provided by a few funding organizations like multilateral organizations, banks, and some climate funds that are available. This is where Umuganda Energy Finance comes to the picture. We are that one-stop shop, that digital platform that connects investors globally to renewable energy project developers here on the continent of Africa. And from our analysis, we have the potential to unlock about $23.5 billion worth of investment for renewable energy companies in Africa.
Our digital platform, we have project portfolios that are listed, and investors can come to our platform to look at different projects, investment projects that they can invest in. And an investor can decide to check more descriptions about each of the projects that have been listed on our platform by the energy developers, and they can decide to make an investment. And for an investor to invest, it needs to be profiled on our system. And this is what looks like the dashboard of an investor, where he can track his portfolios, his projects that he's invested in before. And he can also see more projects that he can also invest in. Our dream, Kickstarter has raised about $7.93 billion US dollar. Indiegogo has raised about $1.5 billion US dollar. And we as Umuganda Energy Finance want to raise $8.8 billion US dollar for energy projects in Africa.
This brings us to our market size. So our addressable market is 800 billion, and our serviceable market is about $500 billion, while our obtainable market is $8.8 billion, cutting across the countries of Rwanda, Nigeria, and Tanzania. How do we plan to obtain revenue? We charge 3% of money raised from projects and 2% on the return on investments. Revenue trajectory, we plan to establish fund, $200 million worth of project for the first year, and to get about 650 revenue in the first year. And by the 5th year, we hope to obtain $320 million worth of projects, which will lead to a revenue of $9.6 million. Our revenue growth is growing, and it has cutted across all years from the first year 2026 to the 5th year 2030.
Rwanda is our pilot because it has a favorable investment climate, especially for renewable energy projects. And the economic outlook is just awesome. Rwanda is growing at a rate of 9.7% annually. Hence, we've chosen it. But more interestingly, the government has set its target to have 60% of its energy needs coming from renewables. So we'll pilot with Rwanda before we move to Tanzania and then Nigeria. From our competitive analysis, we are going to be the only digital platform on the continent of Africa that offers global access to investors from anywhere in the world to fund renewable energy projects that help deliver the much needed electricity to households. And the time is now, because the energy crisis is at its all-time high, but at the same time, the fintech industry is also experiencing huge opportunity when it comes to mobile money penetration and also blockchain to enable safe and secure financing of projects, renewable energy projects on the continent. Our ask currently is for $25,000 to help us build out our minimum viable product and hit the market, after which we would go for more funding rounds to raise about $105,000 to fund subsequent operations within our platform. We are going to be the partner of choice because we would not ignore small and mid-sized investors, which traditional banks ignore as we speak. Our plan is to launch in the market by January 2026, We're already doing something about it. We're engaging with energy players.
Okay,
here
we
on
are
the
out of
continent
time for the
Africa.
presentation. We're going to move to
Thank you.
judges' questions. Judges.
Can you help me understand in a little more detail how that revenue stream allocation works and how investors will get their return on investment?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We are charging as a platform 3% on the amount that we raise for a project. But for an investor, the investor gets about 8% returns on investments. So by the time we put the aggregate amount of fees that would be on the fund that we raised, it's capped at a maximum of 12%, which competes, it outperforms the current bank lending rate, which is between 15 to 20% for renewable energy projects on the continent of Africa.
So you say you're competing against bank lending rates, but for a lot of these projects, I would imagine, these are projects that are difficult to get banks to lend money to. Could you offer a higher return to investors to incent them? And for your investors, is it global? Can people, in the United States, invest in these projects?
Yes, our investment is global. People from anywhere in the world can invest. And like our competitors, Energize Africa, they don't focus globally. They only focus in like European Union. So what our plan is, especially with the growth of mobile money, we can get funds from all over the world that is catered for our projects. And our projects undergo due diligence that afford them and we bring the value to the investor no matter how much the investor wants to invest into. So we do offer, and because of the due diligence that our partner institutions offer with us, the investors get the maximum profit that they can get from our projects.
Can you briefly describe what an average energy project in Africa would look like in terms of the amount of capital, who builds it, and the time before it starts to generate a return?
And add on
Thank you
to that,
very
who
much.
operates.
And who operates it?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. An average 1 megawatt size of renewable energy project, that's an electricity installation, would cost just about $1 million to set up fully. And it takes about 36 months for this project to operate and cover to break even. So it takes about 3 years for the project to return fully. And there is also an annual compound profit or growth rate for energy projects because the customers are already available, just lacking access, to the project. So there's about a 20% compound annual growth rate as reported by the Energy Private Developers Association of Rwanda.
Any more questions from our judges? Okay, we have one.
What do you think are the projected returns for the investors, and what are the returns from the projects? And are you sure that there's enough for a 2% margin for yourselves there? You keep 2% forever, right?
Yeah. Well, it's 2% is not forever. It's a one-off fee like we charge based on project. So we're not trying to own equity on the projects themselves. So the 3% initially, and then the 2% during the returns. And for the margins for the investors, it's a healthy 8 to 10%. That's what, when we size commercially driven energy projects on the African market, it returns between 8 to 10%. So we're still able to cater for investor returns.
And maybe just as a last question, mention what you can do for security. What's the chance that these payments will actually occur over the coming many years versus something might get destroyed or stolen?
Okay, so for
We
the
are out of
security,
time. We are out of time. So thank you very, very much, guys. Great job.